Thank you for attending. I think, has everyone had a chance to see what rules had been proposed? It was published, I believe it was published in the Advance. So at this point, I think, again, we don't intend to make a decision here, but we do intend to get input. So you want to just run down the line and then...
So you're not making a decision tonight?
Not at this meeting.
Not at this meeting.
Oh, okay.
Maybe at the council meeting.
Potentially at 7, but not at the workshop, no.
Okay.
Workshop is just set up so that you guys have all had a chance now to see what we proposed. And we'll take your input, and if your input is such that we think we can make a decision tonight, we will. If it's not, then we won't. It's about that simple. But it's easier to facilitate this discussion in a workshop than it is in a council meeting where it's an open dialogue here. It's
Right.
easier to get stuff pointed across.
Seems a little more manageable tonight.
Do you want me to touch on the bullet points real quick?
Go ahead, Joe.
Just as a
I'll let Joe
refresher.
review, and then we'll just start from your right to my left.
So the proposal, as it was bullet pointed, and I don't know that we're unanimous at the table on this, but this is where I was. The summer hours, which would be Memorial Day through Labor Day, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. with lights programmed to go off at 10 p.m. Off-season hours, 10 a.m. to dusk, and we just don't have the lights on at all. We'd replace the sign that's down there that no one can read. It's all faded with one that includes those hours and indicates that the court is part of a family park located near a residential neighborhood. Please be courteous and refrain from shouting, profanity, and loud music. One of the shorter dunk rims we already took down because it was broken. Roger removed it. The backboard was broken. I think the rim was broken. It was all broken. Only the pole remained. Oh no, that was the one that had already been down. I had proposed that the pole come down. I know Roger would prefer not to do that. It's embedded in cement. And the other one we have since taken down, and that's the one that we're planning to replace. And I can grab that after I'm done. Raj ordered that. It's a heavy duty. It's a non-breakaway. It's heavy duty. I have a hard time seeing it would take it off.
I'll give it to you. I'll just give it right to Russ. That won't make any noise. Yeah, he can hang from that too.
And that's what's needed down there because
Yep.
of the whole fact that
This is.
We talked about the youth using the courts, policing themselves. That was discussed at great length during the last workshop. The rules are ignored. The city has the ability, in essence, to close the park for any period of time, whether it's a day, a week, the whole summer. You do run into freedom of speech issues with things like music and language. There were some kind of simplistic views where if somebody swears, we just pick them up and haul them to jail. It's not even remotely that simple. A lot of that is protected free speech. However, the carrot on the stick is we have the ability at any point to shut the park down if we feel that the environment that we're looking for is not being adhered to. And then the final piece is to ask the Parks Committee and staff to work on a vision for the basketball courts with the goal of submitting a grant application to the DNR. Again, that's not an open, you can't just submit anytime you want. They take applications April 1st every year. The park is part of our community rec plan, so there are grant funds. 75% of the cost is grant eligible. And I know Deb Stiller is the head of the Parks Committee already has started throwing herself onto the internet to research this. I think Roger has some of that also. But in essence, there are playing surfaces, there are backboards, there are rims, etc. that create less noise. One of the thoughts was installing a speaker and pointing it away from the residences with a volume control that the kids can sync their Bluetooth to. Some type of a hedgerow. Debbie had something that she printed off for the best type of vegetation that's noise blocking on that street side. And then to let the Parks Committee run with that and come back to council with a recommendation for a court that's probably nicer for those that are using it and nicer for the residences that join it, where everybody wins. That was the recommendation, in essence, those things.
I'll start with ahead, Danny.
Are you talking about refinishing that court? Putting another,
We're talking about the Parks Committee coming up with a plan that would include all of that. It would include resurfacing the court, it would include what backboards are less conducive to noise, that hold up to stress, rims, hedgerows, everything. They would be considering all of that to get an application in by April 1st and have it in front of council prior to then. And my expectation is once it's done, we could also invite the public in to take a peek at it too.
I'm just here to listen.
Mr. Rick, do you have anything else?
no, I'll just stop.
Sam?
Just a quick question in regards to those points, that if there was a case that came up and there was just some discrepancy as to maybe possibly shutting the court down, would that come before the board or the council and be voted upon, or how?
The charter gives me the ability to do that if I choose to. A lot of times if it's going to be something that's going to be highly politically charged, though, I would tend to, at the very least, include staff and the chief of police and the police department, if not the council. But the charter gives me the ability on my own to do that if I feel it's necessary. But very rarely would I fly by the seat of my pants without at least some input from others.
Just to tie in with that, is that I think there should be some consistency related to so that you don't have one individual saying, yeah, we're going to shut it down for the rest of the week, versus someone else says, yeah, just tonight you guys are off of there, and so that depending on what the infraction is, there's consistency. You're off for tonight and tomorrow, or whatever it is.
If you're going to do that, you got to pass an ordinance. Joe's the head of the parks. I agree with you with everything you said. He is the head of the parks. He doesn't have the council. But we have to let him manage. And if he wants to call a meeting and we vote doing something, unless you want to pass an ordinance, that's only where we need to make it clear.
No, I'm not saying that there should be an ordinance. I'm saying when he's deciding, there should be consistency.
Oh, you're telling him that.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
My expectation of how something like that would play out, if it ever did, was the chief of police would come to me, close my office door, say, Joe, we talked to him, nothing seems to be working. I'm going to ask you to, for the next 2 weeks, we're going to post this as closed, and more often than not, I'm going to support staff. I'll probably then email council and let council know, since residents would be coming to you about it, that this is what we've done and why, if that were to happen.
But I'm not gonna punish the whole people down there for 1 or 2 apples, okay? You just can't do that. So that's my opinion on it. It'd have to be pretty
Egregious, yep, I
pretty
agree.
strong before I think.
Sometimes those kids gotta police themselves.
Right.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, that's
If I
the story.
can say, like at the ice rink, if you have one bad apple, the person that's running the ice rink that night says, you're gone, you get to go home. And they get to go home that night. And that would be the same down there. A police officer goes down there and says, you get to go home. That's on that police officer that day. Next day he's telling Joe, the next day they tell me that we sent so-and-so home. And I think that could be the same down there.
But
Which
Joe should
is,
work that out.
it's very simple. It's one person, it's a police officer, that one person, you're going home.
Yep.
I think that's the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
You know, tell him.
But I put the ice rink into it, that's what we do at the ice rink.
Ban
right?
him.
It's good. Makes sense.
Go ahead, Mrs. Sprague.
I just, on that point, I'm sure I'll come back on one of the other points. So what you guys are saying, in essence, we had some issues with not having reported to the police on the profanity issue, which has improved, since this has begun. However, there are issues when this afternoon I had a deal. Am I to call the police and then have the police come? I mean, really, Gary?
Doesn't matter.
Every time I walk out my back door and hear
Are we
somebody
being the
say-
policeman?
Yeah.
No,
I-
but you're gonna get in the
You
Second
shouldn't do
Amendment
that.
also, you gotta
That's what we
read
got
free
police
speech.
for.
Swearing is bad, we don't like it, but again, I would never swear in front of anybody's kids down there. Some idiots do.
So, we're gonna, who gets to decide?
Yeah,
I mean, if the police drive up in their car, the
Yes, they
kids
do.
are not going to swear at that point
Well,
in
they
time.
take
So,
personality.
in order for it to get to here, somebody is going to have to get it to here, okay? And that looks like it's us.
You call
Okay.
police. We can make complaints. Can we not?
Yes.
That's, oh,
Yeah.
please, please.
That-
And
that's-
that way you're clear of anything. Please take care of it.
On a consistent,
Well, the police
every,
Every
If you
time
wanna
you
call
feel
it
offended,
offended,
you
if
have
somebody
to-
says a bad word, go ahead, you know, if that's what you feel like you wanna do.
well, I
They're
did-
down there, the police are down there as much as they possibly can be.
As you say, Ken,
Mhm.
you would not swear in front of
No,
your
I
children.
wouldn't.
I have grandchildren that are gonna be in my backyard.
And I agree, they don't need to
It's
hear it.
not free speech for them to say those words in front of my children. It's a public park.
Correct.
There are swings, there are people at the band shell on a regular basis. Profanity should be unacceptable.
what
It
happened-
is, but it's
saw the
not
word.
against the law. It is unacceptable.
Then
We
it,
have to follow the statute also.
right, okay, so on your sign, can
We're gonna
you,
ask, hey, curb your mouth, or something to that effect.
no profanity?
We're gonna ask that.
Pretend that your grandma is on the court.
That'd be an
huh?
idea.
Yes,
That'd be an
You
idea.
know, it'd
You
be
see
a
signs
little-
in town where it says, drive like your children.
you drive like your children
What's
live
the
here.
difference?
Yes, pretend like your grandma is on the court. The kids know, and they know when they can do it and when they can't do it. They just need to have some guidance on it. And I don't want to be the police. And I also don't want to have that on a consistent basis, call in and tell you guys. But if that's the way that has to be in order for anything to happen, because they aren't going to stop doing it unless they're threatened with it being closed down by a parent, by whoever.
Mike, if Mary called the police, this person was swearing, are the parents liable if they're underage?
Liable for what, though?
For their child?
It's not against the law.
No, that's right.
No,
Not swear anyplace.
I'm asking the question, please.
Right.
Can I get one?
No.
No, what?
No.
They're not liable, okay. That answers that question, okay, thank you.
Everybody here agrees that foul language in front of kids isn't a good idea. We all know that, but, you know,
So-
we're right back to your freedom of speech, whether we like it or not.
So this is gonna still occur. So, did you get the email that I sent you?
I got it.
Yes.
Monday,
Okay.
January
Now,
29th.
I don't think we should have to wait until next year before anything's done, and you don't even know if the DNR is gonna approve this thing. There certainly should be some solution as far as a sound barrier. I talked to all the neighbors there that are affected, an 8-foot barrier there of some kind, and I'd like to work with Roger on that. But if that's not possible, I guess we could have
I think
some.
Russell, we've got to go slowly on this and do it right. We don't want to spend money, then spend some more money after that.
I don't see why.
The committee's going to look at it, and discuss what is the best thing for.
One sound wall along Lake Street, 8
Isn't gonna
feet
cost.
high, with
Well, you gotta go to the
those
Texas for that
aluminum
next
slats, will cost minimal. And it'll give us sound barrier. From Minnesota, that's what Minnesota DOT did along the freeway on 35. They built walls to satisfy and it works,
I would
gentlemen,
encourage you
it
to visit the
works.
Parks and Recs Commission and talk to them about those things, because that's where that recommendation will ultimately come from.
I'm sorry.
What was
The
that?
Parks and Rec Commission,
What about it?
they manage the parks. So what Joe's suggesting that you think is going to take till next year, if you want to put your input into their process, maybe you can affect that quicker.
Well, I thought that's what this meeting was, to maybe affect the council.
We will make the rules that says the park's going to close, but as far as putting up a sound barrier, I get, if there's a quick and easy solution that's not expensive, then we would probably endeavor to do that. But we don't know that today.
Well, that's
Somebody
fine.
needs to find that out. And I'm not saying work with Joe or Roger, I'm saying you should work with the Parks Commission to do that. Because that's who does the research and submits grants, does the funding, reviews the parks. It's not Roger. Roger maintains them. The Parks Commission oversees those. The appropriate place for you to do that work isn't with Roger, it's with the Parks and Rec Commission. And and they meet monthly.
And my expectation, Tom, is, my gut is, having reviewed things, the recommendation is probably gonna be some form of vegetation versus a solid
Well,
wall.
the thing is, Joe,
Certainly.
obviously, take our time to find out, is that the best?
Right.
Yeah.
Like you said, you know, the vegetation.
Well, and my thought is, as far as the use of the court, so you're, 6 weeks from school starting, and less than that from when the sports start back up, so a lot of the kids that are playing are gonna be in football practice or volleyball practice very soon, and the use of the courts is going to go down somewhat rapidly. So my thought is, again, there is time to do this right, and I agree with what Gary said, you wanna do it right, you don't wanna rush something up, spend money, and then have the vision be something entirely different. And, we've had a lot of success in Rogers City before I got here in securing grants for park improvements, and clearly this is an eligible project. My expectation is that the project would be funded, and I'd like to see us do it right so it has the best possible result on the residences as well as the youth using the courts. And what I found typically is when you try to rush something, you end up regretting what you did versus taking your time and doing it correctly. And again, my expectation is that the use of the courts is going to decrease in about a month somewhat dramatically.
Question.
Who gets the question? Okay. Back to the freedom of speech issue. Yeah, these kids have a freedom of speech issue. Do we at the same time, or city government at the same time, have the prerogative to close the court until it gets better? Or does that trample on their free speech? Or are we just making a decision to close it for a week or two?
No, I have the ability, in essence, to close the court, but again,
But it'd have to be.
it would ultimately be my call, to probably in discussion with staff, and there's a difference between, a youth that sprains his ankle and lets one go
Sure.
versus a constant stream of profanity, and everybody is gonna be different in terms of what is too much.
That's right.
That's where it's my job to determine after consult, and like I said, my expectation if that was to ever happen, it would come to me probably by Matt, saying, we've tried everything, we've talked to him, nothing seems to be working, Joe, I'm asking to do this now. But I don't think it would be one curse word or,
No, of course not.
one, it would be a constant thing where they were down there and,
With no response,
right.
just.
And like I said, I'm hearing, kids are kids, but I'm hearing since this first came up, it's gotten better, which is good because they could have went the other way and done the we'll show you thing. So I'm glad to hear it's not going in that direction. Instead, it's okay, we know there's something at stake here and we're gonna, try to play by these rules so that this doesn't happen.
And I'm assuming this would also approve music that contains foul language and
Everything is protected by freedom. Mike and I have had long conversations about that, so we put on the sign, absolutely no music with foul language. It's a form of speech. Our carrot on the stick is to close the park. We can't control the type of music. Even if 99 out of 100 people would find what's being played offensive, it's protected under free speech. The carrot on the stick is to close the park.
Well, we could close the park in that case.
Yeah, we could, but under any case, under any circumstance whatsoever. It could be under construction, it could be unsafe, it could be whatever. We have the ability to close it for any reason we see fit
I
to
think
close
we
it
were missing
for.
that point for a minute. The issue is, if there is foul language, we can't prosecute, but we can close the park.
No, that was some of what we heard at the prior workshop, that people are cussing, we go pick them up.
Right. But
We
we can close the park in that case.
can, absolutely.
We will.
Right,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is it's not as simple as some of what we heard at the last workshop, which is somebody's cussing, Jamie goes down there, cuffs them, and we start doing hard labor with them the next week, community service. It doesn't work that
If there
way.
is a consequence to using that language, we're
Right.
using it in the park.
Absolutely.
And that is that the park will close.
Right, that's the carrot on the stick.
Go ahead.
All right. I'm not only concerned with profanity, I'm concerned with music that demeans women.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, well, it's
Take it
offensive
into
language.
consent. to
hear it on radio.
No, and
I
like
might
I
not
said,
care about a swear word, but I might care
Can't
about something
understand
else.
it.
all of this would be addressed in the sign, but
Not
again,
necessarily.
I don't think, and Mike, you back me on this, you talk to them, you're not gonna go down there, there is no crime being committed, it doesn't matter. Probably the artist that makes the music feels that the music is art.
I understand that.
We might not
Point
agree with
is-
that.
Well, there's some, I guess there's some argument to be made that playing a radio or playing somebody else's music is not your speech. So it's more like conduct. You know, playing somebody else's music is really conduct. It's not your speech. So there's some, I suppose, ability to regulate that, but as a practical matter, you're not going to really be able to, I think, say, well, you can't play any radios or music down here.
We have an
Because
ordinance.
I mean, you could do that. You could say, no, we're not going to allow any, radios or music, but there's a lot of band concerts. There's people that use that park, go to the beach with radios and stuff, and so that's rather broad. I think you really want to analyze everything based on what would be a plainly audible analysis. It's what do you hear at a certain distance? It's really a noise. It's really a noise ordinance that you're looking at, or rules that you're looking at. What do you hear at most communities, when they deal with noise, they're dealing with it at, if it's plainly audible at, pick a distance, 50 feet, it's too loud.
So it's not content, it's decibels.
That's
It's
what
not even
Elton is
decibel. They
ordinance.
don't even measure it at decibel, they do it at plainly audible.
I don't know
You
if
hear it?
that's right.
Right, but it's how loud it is, not what the content is.
Right.
Again, on the music situation, in our athletics at the high school, it's a public domain, a basketball game, volleyball match, they have pregame music. All of that music has to be clean, what we call clean, in order for the kids to play it in the public forum there, so as to not be offensive. Now, same thing happens noon hour, we play music while the kids are playing basketball, but the only music that can be played over those speakers is clean music. You set up a Bluetooth system, which I don't agree with that in any way, shape, or form, whether it points away from my residence or not, and you're opening up an ability for them to plug in whatever music, clean, unclean, most of it is unclean. I might not like it, but it's got profanity in it, and it will be on there in a Bluetooth system. My other question on you pointing a speaker away from the residence, we're all good.
We're not good. That won't.
You have voters down there who is part of our revenue. You want these people to come in and stay and spend money at our businesses, and you want to point a speaker out to them and them have to listen
But
to
wait,
it?
and I don't know whether that'll happen. Part of that was a sound control,
Okay.
sound governor on it, so it wasn't gonna be broadcasting
Okay,
ear-rattling
I just-
music. It was a way to try to keep the music down.
I would be highly
And pointed
opposed
away
to a
both.
Bluetooth system that anybody, because that's how those work, anybody who has music on their device can put it on that and connect it to Bluetooth. I think it's not a good idea, whether you spray it away from us or toward us or anywhere in the family park. It's a family park, okay?
I believe up at your school, you have a policy up there, what kind of music could be played and what can't be played.
Yes, it needs to
Okay.
be clean. It
Well,
needs to be clean.
that's a school policy, okay? And that's what the school goes by. We're talking about, again, I hate to repeat this, but back to your free speech. We all agree, nobody likes that language in front of kids. I'm the first to tell you, I got grandkids too. And, but to throw them in jail, it ain't gonna happen.
Okay, when you have your band concerts and you have
Is that too loud?
I'm not worried about the loudness of it. I'm saying, are you gonna bring in a
You know we're
band?
not. You know we're not.
Well, okay, so
But
why
I
would
get
you
it.
allow the kids to play it then?
It's not allowing, we're gonna go right back to your free speech.
All right.
okay?
Why are you
But that's what
talking
it
about
is.
music when this is supposed to be a basketball court?
Correct.
Why does the city feel that they have to broadcast music
Who's
out?
broadcasting? Nobody. The kids play their music.
If you're
I'll
setting
play it
up
for
a
5
speaker
years.
at the basketball basketball court, they're there to play basketball, okay? It's not,
Okay,
it's
how
not
come
a
you're not
lounge.
saying you're not providing?
Not a lounge.
Did you ever play music when you were playing down there?
It doesn't matter.
I don't
It
think I
doesn't
did.
matter.
We did, I remember.
Put sound abatement on so
They
fans,
have
then we won't hear their
earbuds.
music.
They
It
can
doesn't
play
cost
their
any
own
money, the
music.
place ain't the populace.
Play their own
Oh, it's simple,
Shut
politicians.
your
I know, these guys.
One thing I'd like to say on that, I mean, there's obviously a broader problem with society and the music that's in society and what kids are exposed to. And, I take my 10-year-old down there. And I don't have any fear because, I'm sure she might hear some swear words. But I've also taught her tolerance. I've educated her about the swear words and when they can be used and when they should never be used, and that people use them, and I understand on younger kids, my 10-year-old, she understands that, when you get down to, 5, 6-year-olds, none of us would like any kids to be exposed to those words, but I think, like I say, it's a bigger problem with society that we can't solve here, I mean, that's just my idea on it, I have no fear of taking my 10-year-old down there, because I feel like I've put her in a position that she can handle some swear words and know how to react to them, And, and I also, I will say something to anybody that does down there. And normally they're policing each other, But like I say, the bigger picture of society and the way it's used too freely, as a lot of us agree with that, I think isn't something that we're going to solve. And I think, so tolerance is involved with that, That's just my opinion on it.
I think it's important to recognize the suggestion for a speaker wasn't necessarily a recommendation, it was a suggestion to address the noise moving towards the residential area. The comment was the committee could look at that as a possible option, not as a option. It's a possible option to counter the noise, along with sound barriers, hedges, fencing, materials for the court. So it's important that we don't get caught up in that here. That's where the committee, that's where that decision is going to be made, is that committee is going to look at options that we have and come up with public input with a solution that hopefully is reasonable for everybody. But just because it's been mentioned doesn't mean we're going to pipe rap music or heavy metal music into the boat harbor just to make the kids happy. That's not our goal here. Our goal is to find a compromise that everybody can live with and acknowledge that we all got to give a little, because that's the way, the only way it's going to work.
I think, the way I understood the Bluetooth speaker thing, is so we have some control over the music down there. That's the way I understood it.
We've all walked down the street and young kids come by and said words in front of us. 20 years ago, they've been laying on the ground, and they wouldn't dare go home and tell their parents. Today, it's a different world. I can't believe it. All these kids will talk, and sometimes in public places. I can't believe how the grown-ups talk. It's terrible.
I think Dara had the best idea, he says deflating basketballs.
No, the basketballs isn't the issue at all.
Okay, Russ, I don't want to cut, you seem to be the most invested, so I want to make sure you have an opportunity to say whatever it is you'd like to say before we end up at 10 to 7 and talking about shutting down the meeting, so.
I think I've said all I got to say.
Okay.
But you encourage to go to those meetings of Parks and Rec.
I gave you guys a copy.
Yeah, if
But that
there's
is-
an opening, I'd like to be on it.
That is the best place,
No, I'm serious.
no, there's no reason not, if there's an opening, we'll put you on. We truly will.
You get to pay like everybody else.
Okay.
Twice as much what Dick gets for do as much.
Does Roger's idea no good about speaking to Roger's about if you find somebody that's making most of the noise, if most of the profanity.
Oh, no, I think we need to
I think that's a
identify
good
those.
idea.
Ask them to
those
leave
culprits and
and
act on it.
let them know
Well-
that the other kids could also be asked to leave.
But we've said 100 times, they got the police themselves too.
That's what I'm
That's
getting
right.
at, Gary. I think
When
that
I get
would
down
help.
there, it gives me an
I
opportunity.
think that would help
to-
them do it. When somebody said something, they'd say, hey,
Yep.
we're gonna get booted,
Yeah.
cut it down.
Yeah.
Just like you police those kids down there fishing. Same thing.
Kids fish too, yeah.
I got a question about the short hoop, just wondering when it's going up. I took my daughter down the other night and she, to quote her, she said, Dad, I'm very disappointed the hoop's gone.
She had a face about that long.
And
I
we
saw.
shot at the 10, she hit the 10-foot hoop a couple times, but she couldn't make it in.
When the backboard gets here.
Okay.
I ordered the backboard to go with that, a heavy-duty backboard to go
Are
with
they
that.
both going up again, Roger? Good.
Yep.
I'm impressed.
And I noticed that the tree there is really stopping a lot of the light from coming onto the court.
Mr. McLennan has too. He has let me know.
But I also noticed when I went by last night, there was just 2 or 3 kids playing, and it was 10 o'clock, and I went around the block and I came back, and the kids were walking down the road, they were done.
Was the light off at?
I think the light was on right then, the
What time
police
there?
were just leaving, and I think it went off after.
Like 10 for 10 or so?
I've been keeping kind of a log when I can stay awake that long.
Mary.
I am, no kidding.
8:15 or?
No, it's around, yeah, really. Then I wake up at 10 now. Okay. It's been more along the lines of 10:15, 10:17. The light's gone off. However, the kids, there's a group of kids that have been playing at that late time, and they always, that particular group has always left, even before the lights have gone out.
That's good. That's what I saw.
So they know, and they may not be there next year, so a suggestion, again, on the sign, which you're going to put up is, when the lights go off, the park is closed, and I think that they will get the message.
10:15 right now is real close to when it goes off.
10:15, 10:17 has been, a
Yep.
couple of, and if that can be like 10 o'clock, that, I'm sure that there won't be a problem, but they have been leaving and, not bouncing the
Just
ball.
one more thing, this was included in that email I sent to you. In the sign, I don't see why you can't put that the lowered rims are for instructional purposes only, no dunking allowed. So there's no, they can't do it, simple as that. I don't see why that's a problem.
That sign won't stop them from doing it.
Well, it's.
It might
It just gets in their way.
And they actually put-
Don't like authority.
It doesn't give them an
Get
out.
away from the signs.
I mean, I don't see how that's controversial.
These should be a lot quieter because it's not a breakaway, it's a solid, and it's just so heavy duty that if they were to dunk on it, we're hoping that it does not bend. It'd take a pretty big guy to bend that.
When I tend to agree with that. I understand that people are gonna do what they're gonna do, but I don't see the harm in getting a sign up. If the officer's gonna stop and talk to them and there's no rules whatsoever, what are we talking to them?
Right.
They could be off the boats
Put
and
it on
never
the
been here
sign,
before.
yeah.
At least they're up there
Yeah.
and we can point it out and say, hey, turn around, read that, please,
Okay.
So that's what I'm getting at.
Suggested to me, Russ, was on the backboard was no dunking on this rim,
Yeah.
just across the backboard.
However,
Yeah,
dunking is a
whatever.
part of basketball.
Um,
I will say that, that's part of the fun.
Not for an 18-year-old on a 10-foot rim, or on the little rim.
What?
They can dunk all they want on a regular rim.
Well, and that's what that is. That's that
Yeah.
one right there. You go lift it. It's not a breakaway. It's a triple reinforced.
Right.
And I'm 245. I don't think I could bring that thing down.
Right, but it's not gonna stop the older kids from dunking on that rim because they can't.
Right. We have questions, we have a couple of questions down the line.
Well, this is just a statement in regards to dunking, that those who may follow ESPN or even Michael Jordan when he was in his prime, he dunked quite a bit. That's how he scored a lot of his points for his team. I understand maybe the noise, however, encouraging free play, I would highly encourage free play with basketball because that would also bring those skills to the court when they play, when it comes time for in-season.
I totally agree with that. I think limiting the dunking, I mean, the noise thing, if that's gonna solve the noise thing, you know, like say I think people are still gonna dunk on it, you know.
They're just emulating their heroes. Come on, right?
Well, I mean, we're gonna know that.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
what
we're
you're
soon. We're gonna
That's all
find
we're
out
doing.
real quick.
Exactly.
See it on TV all the time.
It's gonna happen. That's what you're saying. It's a part of
We'll
life.
find out if there's any noise with that
That's
thing as soon as it goes up, so.
A lot of the noise that was coming from the dunking was the backboard was broke,
Yeah.
the dunk rim, the mechanism on the rim itself was broke, so every time it snapped, it had a double reflex, so that helped a lot of the noise. I'm sure the new backboard, new rim will take care of it.
I have a bit of concern about if sound abatement fencing or whatever might be installed, I'm a little concerned about the height of it, because I live smack dab across.
We got pictures. To be honest, in Parks Committee, that's why we have a committee, and Joe's the dictator, but in reviewing the pictures, I really, the aesthetics of that fencing it's ugly, and not only that, but when you start barricading that in, you can't see what's going on behind the fence.
Right.
So if there's a way to do it with vegetation, it's gonna look better, and it's not gonna create this barrier where God knows what is going on that you can't
And it
see
probably wouldn't
anymore.
be as tall.
Right.
I don't want my view obstructed too much. I'm gonna obstruct a little bit. I'm fine with that. I will compromise.
You said
But-
8-foot limit.
But I want to know.
The fence is 9 foot
That's
tall.
right.
The fence is 9 foot tall.
The fence down there now.
Fence
It's
down
only
now
9
is
foot tall.
9 foot.
Okay.
Yes,
All
it
right.
has been measured.
But if it were solid, that would make a giant difference. Right now, it's a wire fence. You know, I still want to see a little bit of the fish
The kids
house,
don't.
a little bit of the harbor, a little bit of water, a little bit,
Well,
you
the
know.
noise goes
We
with
all
that.
want our cake and eat it.
I
too.
understand that, I understand that, I understand
Got
that.
it.
And if natural vegetation could be like 8 foot or less, I'm totally down with that, totally down. But not so high that I can't see the lake. No.
You have
Yeah,
a good
but
view,
Maria,
we gotta
I
raise your
can't-
Yes, I have a
taxes.
deep view.
We gotta raise your taxes.
No, because I don't live on the lake property, that's the
Reed,
town.
if you go 8 feet high and I drive by in my truck, I
But
can't
they
see
do
over,
charge for
so I
lake-
think it should be lower.
Well,
Truck window
fine,
height.
we're fine, but I'm allowed 8 feet.
Safety is better.
Russell came down today and went like this, on the top of the fence, and I said, that's probably 8 feet, I can see just fine over there, but less than that, not, more than that, not so good.
Good, 11, you wanted to read now?
We've covered a lot of it, but, gentlemen, I am in favor of creating a municipal vision for the Lakeside Park basketball court and submitting a grant application for improvements to the court. I love the idea of a playing surface that creates less noise, for instance. Concerning the installation of a speaker system, if a group of court users hooks up inappropriate music via Bluetooth, we've kind of done this, on the court speakers, excessive profanity, lyrics that graphically demean women, that could be cause to file a complaint, I should think. Also, if we do install speakers, who controls the volume? The court user? Do we have remote? Turn it down, it's too loud. You know. And then the sound barrier, I'm assuming would be some kind of fencing or hedging, and I don't want it too high. I already spoke to that. More than 8 feet. See the lake anymore. So that's just a concern of mine as a homeowner and a citizen. I don't want it too high. 8 feet I'm fine with, you know. And I just hope that a viable solution can be found.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay. To summarize, I think where we're at today, we can institute hours, 10 to 10, let's go off. We can request that a sign be developed for placement down there. We are going to replace the one down Clem. Beyond that, I think it needs to go to Parks and Rec for the rest of the story. And I would encourage all of you, whether you get on Parks and Rec or simply want to attend their meetings, that's where the input has the most value, is in that committee, because they're going to be the ones that determine the path forward for the park.
Are they only gonna replace one net?
At this point, I'm not sure what the plan is for the.
I think for the rest of the
short range.
season, we'd get the one lower rim back up, and then the rest of it would be the overall. Because honestly, Raj has found, for instance, some backboards that are, they're much more expensive, but they're less, they make less noise.
Well-
And that's the type of thing I'd love to have 75% grant cover rather than the taxpayers covering the
And you maybe
entirety
could
of
put some
possible.
deadening material on the back too, or something, for the noise.
Well, and there's, again,
I'm
there's
just
all
thinking,
kinds of stuff.
There's been a lot of times I've gone down there and there's big kids playing in the high one,
Right.
and little kids playing on the other one, sometimes big ones too. But they use them all.
Right. Well, and again, you know, and again, it's up to, you have a vision of the better, you know, the plastic or
The glass ones.
glass backboards, less noisy, anything, we're gonna look into all of this. Like I said, I'm flying by the seat of my pants, right? We haven't even gotten started yet, but you've already seen that rim is better than the rim we had down there, and there are all kinds of things, and typically, the better it is, the more expensive it is. And I think the number we had on the resurfacing alone, just to resurface it with cement, was 20 grand. It's probably, the price tag will go up to do it right. So it's gonna be an expense, and if it's a $40,000 project and we get $30,000 grant, it becomes doable. It's better for everybody.
I'm just curious, what kind of surfacing is that?
No idea. Like I said, we haven't even gotten started. We've had some parks members on their own because this has been a big hot button issue. Go online and start looking at stuff, but there's nothing, we don't have anything yet solid.
Not doing that hot rubber surface?
Right.
Awesome.
There actually is, like the tracks are made out of,
Yeah.
the ground up rubber.
Yeah.
That is an ideal all surface, but that will put it up into that
Well,
40,000
I'm
range.
pretty sure it probably would.
So,
But how long would it last as opposed to the other?
that concrete's lasted, Kenny, how old are you? Older than I am? So it's 50 plus years right now. And it has been resurfaced, it has been paved over once. So it's been coated twice in 50 years. So if that a track will last 30 years probably, 25, 30 years.
Wait a minute, Roger, back to the train. When we bought the house,
Yeah.
35 years ago, there was not a basketball court down there. It was a tennis court. Okay. Basketball courts didn't come in until later on.
Yeah.
I don't know how much later on, but
There were
they were.
basketball, I
There was
played
both.
basketball in high school on that.
Well, it may have been basketball and then they
Rims were
switched
facing the
to,
street.
then they switched to, but they were tennis courts when
Well,
we
they were
first
both
moved.
back then.
They were both, yeah. 'Cause I remember when I was a kid, when I was just, you know, I went down there.
Well, about it, like I said, we haven't done any research yet, but when we get to it, we're not gonna be guessing or speculating. We're gonna have firm facts, and I'm certain that we're gonna do the right thing, and because we have grant money to help us, we can do it right. It would be beyond our financial wherewithal if we didn't have it, but I have every expectation that we'll get it. We have a damn good argument as to why we need it. I mean, these last two workshops have spelled out the need for this, so I think we have a hell of an argument.
Well, we have two goals in front of us, and you can believe that we will be working on both of them. The first goal is that we want to remediate some of the problem with noise for you folks that are down there, understand that, and that, you know, we get that. And the other part of it is that we want to continue to provide good, clean entertainment for, you know, exercise and entertainment for our children. My three sons, and maybe even my daughter once in a while, and I went down there and played oftentimes, and, you know, we didn't do a lot of swearing, I don't think, but we had some good, clean fun, it was all good, and they went on to be good athletes. So it's important, but we do get that it's a two-way street here, and we'll do what we can to remediate some of that noise.
I ride my bike by there quite often, and I have noticed that the kids have been very well behaved, and the language problem has been minimal, which I'm surprised considering, you know, they're teenage boys, most of them, but it's been fairly quiet, well behaved, and went by there about an hour ago before this meeting, and a bunch of them just finished playing, and they're all sitting there on the bench having a nice conversation and getting ready to play another round of basketball. Which I was surprised. I've lived all over the country, and apartment complexes and city complexes that have basketball courts. But the kids that were down there that I've seen most of the time have been pretty well behaved. I've not seen any fighting problems, argument problems, or whatever. So I think Friday would be a great idea.
Great entertainment. Not necessarily just families, there are some old parts.
She shoot a mean three-pointer.
Anybody else?
Quick question, when is the low hoop going up?
Oh, I already asked Roger, he's waiting for
Oh,
that.
did you?
Yeah, the rims were sitting right there, Ken. That's the rim we wanted to show everybody, just waiting on the back. Did they give you any idea when it'd be in?
It should have been here today, but there's.
So it should be up before festival.
Yeah, I'll be calling in a couple days.
Thank you again, appreciate your input.
Thank you.